Hey, welcome everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for January 26th, 2016. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss, with analysis for today's session here. We mentioned that this is a major tail event several days ago, obviously, and this rejection to me implied that we would likely see a move back into 1921 and 1939, which is the midpoint of the potential key range here that's developing. I mentioned that any close back below 1879 would suggest more of a pullback. You don't want to hold through that pullback. Instead, wait for price to come back down into the zone here and that CLVN 1846. I still believe this area right here will be defended, and we've already seen signs of that in overnight trading. So right now, with this defense off of this LVN, the expectation would be for another push into 1921 and to finish the move into 39, at least on the short-term basis. Failure to hold above this CLVN would suggest another big push downward, not only into 1811s, but perhaps into downside targets below that zone. And right now we have the next downside target at 1746. So this could be a significant failure here if prices can't hold that CLVN. But right now, it appears that bulls are defending. And right now, short term, it appears that we could see a retest back toward recent highs, 1903s, with a shot to continue higher into 21 and 39. Now, if we drop into the lower time frame for the ES right now, you can see how much of a significant bounce this was. A big time push higher here off of the 1851 halves back to 1879. Right now, there's a couple of things you could be looking at. We had this significant sell-off here from there down, and now a bounce back to the midpoint. This right here could give us a key range to play with. Additionally, we could use this range from here down and then begin to play off this key range later on in the day. So we'll be following that in the PivotBoss Premium Trading Room later on. Now, taking a look here at crude oil. Here's crude oil in the daily time frame. We've been trending lower this entire time. Obviously, we talked about this two-day range being a bounce that needs to be faded by bears, and so far that's been the case. We also talked about the rejection here of prices above the previous week's high of 32.35. Anytime you reject above the previous week's high, that's an implication that you're headed back toward the previous week's low. So right now we're seeing a little bit of that play out. Additionally, after being rejected at the middle point here of the stacked and sloped moving averages, we've seen a push lower, and now you can see kind of right here this eight period pivot-based EMA being offered at 30.81. So right now that implies further weakness ahead. Above 30.81 opens the door to squeezing back into 33.20 and perhaps higher. So short term, the downtrending market remains in effect. Failure to see any acceptance back above 30 opens the door to new lows into 27.56 with a shot to see further expansion into 25. Okay, let's take a look at the intraday time frame. Looking at the intraday time frame here, again, we have very important key levels to watch out for. Nice movement. Right now, it's the swing move that we've seen overnight, 29.25 up to 30.86. We're going to watch that key range to see how things play out. Obviously, the midpoint here at 30.06 is very important. Bulls want to hold that LVN short term for a shot at seeing a rotation higher. So basically, bulls want to defend this zone short term for a return back to 5-day VPOC. Failure to hold above 30.05 opens up a move into 29.18 and below. Let's take a look at gold for a moment. Basically, this one pushed to a new high, and obviously that pullback here after seeing the initial expansion was the zone to buy, and then you saw a continuation. Our idea was that on this pullback, we would see a move into 11.2380 and 11.30. We've gotten close to that zone. I still believe we could reach that by the end of the week. Basically the ADR targets tell us that that has a very good shot. So right now we're seeing a little bit of a rejection above price levels, above the previous high. If that continues to reject, expect a return to 1072.10 ahead. Taking a look lastly at the NQ, very similar to the ES here, we've had a swing sell-off, a significant impulse move down, boom, boom, into this low. We had this major tail event, and once we had it, I talked about bulls defending the CLVN on a return to 40.72 here for a shot at seeing a continuation into 43.40. So that's the primary idea. After closing back below 4,200 here. The expectation was not to hold into any further pullback, but to look to defend a pullback once it occurs for a continuation into 43.40. So far, you can see that we have seen that pullback in overnight trading, and already bulls have come in to defend. And right now, that gives us an indication that this full pullback right here could fuel the next expansion move higher. So watch that very, very closely. Failure to hold above 40.72 would open up the doors to another round of new lows into 39.65 and 38.93. Looking at the intraday time frame here, you can see we've had a significant sell-off, creating what could be a significant impulse move. This is the high here, a sell-off into these lows, and then a bounce back to the midpoint. That's going to be a key range we focus on in the PivotBoss Premium Trading Room today. I would say right now, any pullbacks into value, you can see 41.43 was previous value here on an MC-VPOC basis. That was defended in addition to 5-day VPOC here. So, or previous 5-day VPOC. I would say any pullback could offer an opportunity to defend for a return to 5-day VPOC at 42.35. So that's going to be the outlook as we head into the rest of the session. Let's see how this thing plays out. Good luck and trade well.